Hi, I'm Kitten Mur. Hi, and I'm Puppy Bobby. These are stories about us, how we play, make friends, go on adventures. Come with us. It will be fun.
Kitten Mur was playing in the yard since early morning. He found a ball of yarn and chased it through the grass, jumping and purring happily. "I'll catch the yarn faster than lightning," Mur said, and slapped it with his paw. Just then, Puppy Bobby ran in from around the corner. He was rolling his ball and barking with joy. "Hi, Mur. Want to play with me?" "No," Mur grumbled. "I'm playing alone with my yarn." Bobby looked a little sad, but he quietly stepped away. Mur kept playing and didn't notice that the yarn rolled into some thick bushes. He jumped after it and got stuck. Only his tail was sticking out. "Meow! Help!" he cried. Bobby quickly ran over. Without thinking, he grabbed Mur's tail. He pulled carefully and got him out. Mur shook off the leaves, looked at Bobby and said softly, "Thank you. I was wrong. I'm sorry I didn't want to play together." Bobby smiled. "It's okay. I'm just glad you're safe. Want to play together now?" "I'd love to," Mur said happily. From that day on, Mur and Bobby became best friends. They did everything together, played, ran, hid, and even shared snacks. And Mur never forgot one simple thing. It's always more fun together than alone. A short story about creativity, teamwork, and being different together. It was a sunny morning, and Kitten Mur had an idea. "Let's draw something on the garden fence," he said, holding a bunch of colorful chalks in his paw. Puppy Bobby wagged his tail. "Yes! Let's make the biggest, best picture ever." They rushed to the white wooden fence and got to work. Mur started drawing a big pink fish with sparkles. "This is my dream fish," he said proudly. Bobby looked at it, tilted his head, and then started drawing something next to it. A huge blue bone with wings. "A flying bone?" Mur asked, blinking. "Yep," Bobby grinned. "So I can catch it in the sky." Mur giggled. Okay, that's funny." They kept drawing. Mur added stars and a rainbow tail to his fish, while Bobby added a puppy rocket ship and a moon made of cheese. Soon the fence was full of wild shapes, colors, and silliness. But then Mur paused. I think our drawings don't match," he said. "Yours is all zoom and chew, mine is all swim and sparkle." Bobby's ears drooped. "Do you want me to erase mine?" Mur shook his head. "No, I think we just need to connect them." He grabbed a piece of green chalk and drew a big, wiggly line between the fish and the rocket ship. "What is that?" Bobby asked. "A friendship bridge," said Mur. "So our worlds can meet." Bobby's eyes lit up. He added flowers on the bridge. Mur drew hearts. Together, they filled the space between their drawings with happy things they both loved. Stars, clouds, yarn balls, tennis balls, and even a little picture of them holding paws. When they were done, they stepped back and smiled. "It's not your picture or my picture," Mur said. "It's our picture," Bobby finished. And right in the middle of the fence, in big, colorful letters, they wrote, "Friends Forever." One sunny day, the kitten Muru and the puppy Bobby were playing in the yard. Suddenly, Muru saw something shiny under a bush. He ran over and pulled out an old, slightly crumpled piece of paper from the grass. "Look, Bobby, it's a map!" Muru exclaimed, unfolding it. On the yellow paper, there were wavy lines, trees, a fence, and at the very end, a big red X. "A treasure!" Bobby's eyes sparkled. "We have to find it." The friends set off on the path. First, they walked past an old apple tree where a little sparrow was sitting on a branch, chirping happily. Then they had to jump over a small puddle where the blue sky was reflected. "According to the map, we have to crawl under the fence now," said Muru. Carefully, they squeezed through a gap and found themselves in an empty lot where tall yellow flowers grew. Bobby carefully compared the way with the map. There was a big stone slab, a pile of bricks, and there it was. The X. The friends started digging the soft soil with their paws. "There's something here," Bobby shouted happily. Muru helped him, and soon they pulled out an old tin box from the ground. Inside were colorful glass marbles, a toy compass, and a shiny coin. "This is real treasure," Muru smiled. "And now it's ours together," Bobby added. They put the find into their backpack and ran home, already imagining the games they would play with their new treasures. For them, it was the best adventure ever. The key to the secret door. One sunny morning, Mur and Bobby were playing in the garden when something shiny caught their eye in the grass. "Look, Bobby," Mur exclaimed, bending down. "It's a key." The key was old and made of copper. It looked like it was hiding a special secret. "I wonder what it opens," Bobby said, turning the key in his paws. "Let's find the door," Mur suggested. They searched all around the yard, checking the shed, the gate, and even an old chest in the basement. But the key didn't fit anywhere. So the friends decided to go on a little adventure outside the yard. First, they came to a big oak tree where a squirrel lived. "Have you seen a door that can be opened with this key?" Mur asked. The squirrel shook her head, but told them to check near the stream. By the stream, the friends found a small cave between some rocks. Inside, something shiny glimmered, but it was only an old pot that someone had left behind. They were almost ready to give up when, behind an old ivy-covered fence, Bobby spotted a dark shape. As they came closer, they saw a small wooden door almost hidden by the vines. Mur put the key into the keyhole. Click! The lock opened. The door creaked and swung open, and behind it was a tiny secret garden filled with flowers of every color, butterflies, and a little fountain in the middle. The friends stepped inside and sat by the fountain. "This is our secret place," Bobby said happily. Mur smiled. "And we'll keep the key in a safe place, so we never lose it." From that day on, they often came here to play and dream, and the door always waited for their next visit. Night picnic. One evening, when the sun had already hidden behind the horizon, Mur and Bobby decided to do something special. A night picnic. "Imagine, under the stars!" Bobby exclaimed, jumping with joy. "And with lanterns," added Mur. "And with tasty treats." They packed a basket, small cupcakes, cookies, grapes, sandwiches, and a thermos of warm cocoa. Bobby took a string of little lanterns, and Mur brought a soft blanket. The friends went to a meadow not far from the forest. The sky above had already turned deep blue, and the first stars began to appear. "Look, there's the Big Dipper," Mur pointed with his paw. "And that star over there must be the tastiest one," Bobby joked. They spread the blanket, turned on the lanterns, and the place became cozy and magical. The tiny lights softly lit their faces. Nearby, crickets chirped quietly, and in the distance, an owl hooted. Mur poured cocoa into 2 cups, and the warm smell filled the air. Bobby munched on a cookie and looked at the sky. "You know, Mur, I think the stars are smiling at us tonight. Maybe they like night picnics too." Mur smiled. They shared the sweets, told each other funny stories, and even made up a little song about friendship. Suddenly, a bright shooting star flashed across the sky. "Quick, make a wish," Mur said. Bobby closed his eyes and whispered something, then asked, "And you? Did you wish?" "Of course," Mur nodded. "But if I tell, it won't come true." The night was quiet and magical. The friends stayed until it became cool. Then they packed their things and, lighting their way with lanterns, walked home, feeling it was one of the most special evenings of their lives. Treehouse. One sunny summer day, Mur and Bobby were walking through the garden. Suddenly, their eyes fell on a huge old tree with a thick crown and strong branches. "Look, Bobby," Mur exclaimed. "This tree is perfect for a treehouse." "Yes," Bobby replied excitedly. "Let's build it together. It will be our secret place." They immediately got to work. Mur brought a small toolbox, and Bobby pulled out planks and ropes from the shed. First, they chose a large flat branch to lay the floor on. Mur carefully held the planks, while Bobby, with a serious look, hammered in small nails. When the floor was ready, the friends began building the walls. Mur picked out the straightest planks, and Bobby made sure they were firmly in place. Then they made a little window, perfect for looking out over the garden. And now the most important part, Mur said, the roof. They stretched a soft green tarp that would protect them from the sun and rain. Inside, they spread out a blanket, set down 2 small pillows, and placed a basket with cookies and apple juice. By evening, the treehouse was ready. Mur and Bobby climbed up the rope ladder inside. Sitting side by side, they watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. "This is the best place in the world," Mur said softly. "Our little house in the clouds." Bobby smiled. From then on, they came here every day to read, play, share their secrets, and dream about new adventures. And though the treehouse was small, it became their coziest corner, always filled with laughter, friendship, and warmth.
Dance in the rain. One day, after a hot afternoon, the sky darkened and a cool breeze swept through the air. Mur and Bobby sat on the porch, lazily watching the clouds. "Look, raindrops!" Mur exclaimed as the first drop landed on his nose. "It's starting to rain!" Bobby cheered and tilted his face up toward the sky. At first, the rain came slowly, softly, as if someone was gently tapping on the leaves. But within a minute, it turned into a cheerful summer shower. "Let's go play!" Bobby shouted. "But we'll get soaked," Mur giggled. "So what? That's the fun part." They dashed out onto the lawn, where shiny puddles were already forming. Bobby was the first to leap into one. Water splashed everywhere. Mur followed, hopping straight into 2 puddles at once. The splashes flew high like a firework of droplets. The rain poured down, warm and gentle. Mur and Bobby spun, jumped, rolled on the wet grass, and jumped up again. "A rain dance!" Bobby shouted, stretching his paws out and spinning in circles. Mur followed with silly little pirouettes. Everything sparkled, the leaves, the grass, even their ears and noses. Thousands of droplets fell from the sky. It felt like nature itself was dancing with them. "This is our rainy ball," Mur laughed. "Just for the 2 of us," Bobby chimed in. They leapt around as if on an invisible stage. Mur raised his front paws into the air while Bobby spun in place like a circus performer. The rain slowly eased and golden evening sunlight peeked through the clouds. A rainbow stretched across the sky, and Mur and Bobby stood still beneath it, breathing hard and beaming with joy. "What a wonderful day," Mur whispered. "The wettest and the funniest," Bobby grinned, shaking water from his ears. They returned to the porch, soaked, muddy, but incredibly happy. There, soft towels and cups of warm milk were already waiting for them. Sometimes, the best adventure is just dancing in the rain with your best friend. Rainbow Hunt. The rain ended as suddenly as it had started. Drops still fell now and then, but sunlight was already peeking through the clouds, making the leaves shine bright green and glisten. Mur stretched his paws and peeked out from under the awning. A raindrop landed on his nose and he sneezed. "Look!" Mur exclaimed, pointing his paw upward. Above the trees, a rainbow had appeared, bright, wide, like a glowing bridge. It seemed so close, like if they just ran a little bit, they could stand right under it. "What if there's a magical surprise at the end of the rainbow?" Mur whispered with wide, curious eyes. "Only one way to find out," Bobby barked, jumping to his feet. And off they ran, paws splashing through the wet grass, drops flying with every step. The rainbow shimmered ahead, sometimes seeming close, sometimes far away, like it was playing hide and seek. They dashed across little streams, peeked behind bushes, and climbed onto stumps, but the end of the rainbow was nowhere to be seen. Only shifting colors in the sky like something out of a fairy tale. "I think it's running away from us," Mur said, slowing down. "Maybe we're looking in the wrong place," Bobby replied thoughtfully. Then they saw it. Under a tree, through the mist, a single beam of sunlight touched something glimmering in the grass. They hurried over and found a small glass jar with a lid filled with rainbow-colored candies that sparkled like the rainbow itself. A tiny note was tied to the jar. For those who believe in magic. Mur and Bobby looked at each other and burst into laughter. "We found it!" Mur shouted. "A real magical surprise!" Bobby grinned. They curled up under the tree, sharing the candies and watching the rainbow slowly fade from the sky. They didn't need to chase it anymore, because the real adventure had already happened.
The secret tunnel. After the rain, the garden sparkled with life. Leaves shimmered, flowers stretched their petals, and Mur and Bobby were dashing along the paths playing tag. Suddenly, Mur stopped. Behind a lilac bush, he noticed something unusual. Twisted vines and branches, forming what looked like a tunnel. "Bobby, look," he whispered. "It's like a tunnel." Bobby peeked inside. The branches arched overhead, forming a perfect green passage. It was dim inside, but soft light trickled through the leaves, and the air smelled like wild strawberries. "Shall we go?" Mur asked. "Only if you go first," Bobby grinned. They stepped in. With each paw step, the world outside faded. The tunnel was quiet, but magical. Leaves rustled underfoot, raindrops still dripped somewhere far above, and tiny glowing lights hung from the ceiling like hidden fireflies. "It's like music in here," Mur whispered. "Listen." A step, and it rings. Bobby took a step, and a soft chime rang out, like a triangle being tapped. They kept walking, deeper and deeper, until a warm glow appeared ahead. Pushing through one last curtain of vines, they found themselves inside a round underground room. The walls were made of earth, decorated with moss and roots. The floor was soft and grassy, and on a tiny wooden table sat a teapot and 2 little cups. "Who lives here?" Bobby asked. "Maybe no one. Maybe it's for those who believe in magic," Mur said quietly. They curled up on soft cushions, poured some strawberry tea from the teapot, and watched the glowing lights gently flicker above them. "This is our secret hideout," Bobby whispered. "Just ours," Mur nodded, "and it will always be waiting for us." Bubble celebration. From the very morning, the sky was clear and the air was warm with a ticklish breeze. It was the perfect day for a bubble celebration. Bobby rolled out a giant bubble kit from the shed, a bucket of soapy water, several bubble wands of all shapes, and even a homemade hoop for giant bubbles. "Today we'll have the bubbliest day ever," he barked joyfully. Mur purred with excitement, already imagining bubbles floating above the garden. He carefully dipped a small wand into the soap and gently blew. The first bubble appeared, shimmering in pinks and blues like a tiny rainbow. Soon, the whole field was filled with bubbles, small ones, medium ones, and some truly gigantic. A few were so big they could carry off a hat. Bobby tried making a mega bubble using the hoop. He walked across the grass, swinging the hoop, and out came a bubble the size of a small tent. Mur squealed with delight and darted after it. Bobby followed close behind. They ran, jumped, and pawed at the bubbles, sometimes just stopping to stare as one floated up into the sky, catching the sunlight. Sometimes, bubbles popped right on their noses, and they'd both burst into giggles. One especially stubborn bubble refused to pop, and Mur chased it all across the yard until he tripped and fell into the grass right into Bobby's arms. They both laughed and lay there for a while until another bubble floated overhead. When the sun began to set, Bobby was blowing the final bubbles, slower now, more gently. One of them rose high and caught the light of the sunset. Mur watched it and whispered, "It looks like a magic wish ball." "Then make a wish that we can have a day like this again," Bobby smiled. They snuggled into a blanket, tired, damp from all the bubbles, but completely happy. Up above, the last rainbow spheres drifted through the sky, a glowing reminder of a day they would never forget. Subscribe our channel for more interesting stories.